right, welcome everyone. We'll go ahead and get started here. Before we dive into this, I do want to go through a couple of quick housekeeping tips for you. We are going to record this webinar. We'll make it available on our YouTube page and our website as soon as possible. And if you have any questions while I go through this, drop them in the chat, drop them in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to get them answered. If we do in this webinar without an answer, we'll make sure we get back to you as soon as we can get a hold of that answer for you. All of the slides and everything that we showed today are going to be emailed to you guys later today, and those will be sent out to the email you registered with, so just be on the lookout for that. And then last, if you happen to be new to this webinar series or Teams webinars in general, I know we have a couple who aren't necessarily based here in the US, so if you aren't English as your native language, we do have the ability to translate the text on the slides into a handful of different languages there. So we'll go ahead and dive in here. So today's webinar, we're going to look at some mounting solutions and really how they're meant to improve access and adjustability and overall setup efficiency for you guys. We're going to walk through Gatlin, ARMS260, and UniLink hardware families. I want to look at how they support everything from joysticks to chin controls, but I want to spend more time on phones and tablets. We've kind of covered some of the drive control stuff last year, so I want to spend a little more time on the non-drive control related things that we can do with them. So I'll try to highlight hopefully some real world setups here and there, and make some things easier for you to support with. So we'll go ahead and get going. Like I just mentioned, though, I do want to encourage everybody, if you missed the webinar that we did way back in September, go check that out on our YouTube page. It covers a very, very similar topic as this webinar. Effectively, this is the part 2 to that September webinar, so go check it out. That one, like I said, it's really a lot of the same hardware families, but more focused on the drive control itself. We'll have a quick recap of that as we go through here, but it is more dedicated to that, so check that out as well. So customizable hardware, it's a pretty important piece of a wheelchair setup. It allows your clients to integrate accessories and things in a secure and more ergonomic manner. And hopefully the goal with all that is to maximize independence, right? So a generic hardware that's engineered for a very specific task, it's always going to struggle if you get outside of that task, right? It's going to be difficult to meet physical needs or demands of the routines of that individual. So before I jump into the hardware families themselves, I kind of want to explore this topic a little bit. I think broadly speaking here, none of this is earth-shattering news to you guys, but mounting hardware that can be precisely positioned is going to allow clients to keep essential items within reach, potentially reduce the need for caregiver assistance, right? Those clients can mount phones or tablets or other assistive technology, like AAC devices, in a better position, right? So sometimes that position is difficult or even impossible to reach with an off-the-shelf product. When we talk drive controls, we're often talking about positioning those items in a very, very specific manner because it's critical to their success. But positioning of the client is even more critical, right? So a customizable hardware family that can help ensure that positioning of the device and the client are both consistent is the key there. So when we have a mounting system that can be easily adjusted and adjusted by the client or their caregivers as well, it's going to let them move those positions, those positioning components, move those devices, all of those various things that are attached to the wheelchair for those various different ADLs. So I know we've all heard that rule, stabilize proximally to promote distal function. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at here in this slide. So improperly mounted equipment can force a client into an unnatural or inappropriate posture. That can lead to fatigue, discomfort, sometimes if you let it go long enough, long-term health conditions. Um, Customizable mounts are really what we're going to use and what we're talking about here to minimize those risks. When we're able to put that hardware in the proper position, we're able to really enhance the posture, hold them in a good position. We're able to maybe get the device that they're trying to reach for in the right spot, things like that. So ideally, we get better alignment and pressure distribution, all those things that come along with it, right? The client's better able to use their equipment with less stress on their body, so we get less repetitive stress injuries, skin damage, things like that. And then when we can customize a hardware to hold a device securely, we're obviously preventing damage to that device or piece of really expensive equipment. But when we can use that same hardware to also provide stability to the user, it really goes a long way towards ensuring both safety of the equipment and the user, right? If we can optimize how a component attaches to a given chair, we're able to provide more secure mount, hopefully better use and utilization of that component. When that accessory is more secure, we're able to provide more of that external stability that the client might be seeking or needing. So when we talk device mounting, like our topic today, it means that device is less likely to be damaged. And then a person's physical needs are always going to change, right? Their daily activities or even required technology can change over time. Hardware that can easily evolve with those changes could be the answer. That means no, I don't need an entirely new piece of equipment, right? Often a different activity means that there's different needs for that client's chairs, and by extension, oftentimes hardware. So it could be as simple as they need something to flip out of the way while they're performing a task. So having that capability or adjustability to easily flip that out of the way could mean the client's able to participate in that activity. Now, if you attended our webinar in September, you already know that we have a few different hardware families to talk about. But again, I want to briefly introduce these core stealth mounting families that we'll focus on today. We've got the Gatlin, ARMS260, and UniLink options, and then we'll talk about some chin control stuff as well. Each of these families is really designed with different needs in mind, but they all share that same goal, and that's precise positioning, stability, and adjustability, so clients can get to their drive controls, to their devices, all as independently and comfortably as possible. So the first one we'll talk about here is Gatlin real quick. This is kind of a staple here at Stealth. It's just a robust midline mounting system. What sets it apart is you have multiple adjustment points with a high level of fine tuning all built into it. It's going to support a pretty wide range of mounting, right? It comes in 3 versions, so we can fully customize the setup depending on the client's posture, their functional reach, the device that we're attaching to. So if you need a very repeatable, stable midline access kind of system, this is a really good go-to system for that. The next one that we'll talk about really quickly is going to be ARMS260. This is a very adjustable swing-away mounting system. It typically mounts under the arm, but we can put it in all kinds of places. And it's going to provide access for positioning a range of things, right? For joysticks, switches, displays, small personal devices. So a major strength of this one is that it's compatible across a lot of different device types that we can use with it. You've got one-handed operation, so it's pretty user and caregiver friendly, and you can play with it so that swing away happens in different orientations. Our UniLink family here is a very, very versatile system, probably the most flexible mounting system we offer. You've got something that's extremely customizable. It allows you to bring the joystick or the device exactly into that client's optimal position for access. and then move it out of the way when it's not needed. It's really helpful when clients require something that's constant, consistent, repeatable, and you're not going to sacrifice ease during transfers and things like that. And then last quick family update here we have is the chin control mounting options. These we have chair mounted, we have client mounted, harness based things, we have head support mounted. So there's several versions here. We'll kind of briefly talk about those in just a second, but these will give you that adjustable and customizable position for clients when they rely on a chin drive system, right? So we have options that allow a clinician or someone to match that hardware to the user's control, their access points, right? Each of these families, like I said, they kind of play a little bit of a unique role in supporting those access needs. I'll break down how each system works next and try to focus on, again, non-joystick specific applications for these things. So in the ARMS260 family, this again is a swing away mounting system, most often attached under the armrest. It'll swing away about 100 degrees, and then when you put it back in place, it locks into its home position. Super easy for clients to operate with one hand. One of the big advantages here is adjustability. So you get a ton of flexibility in multiple different planes. That same mechanism we use on like knee adductors, on elbow supports, headrests, swing aways. So you're probably familiar with that mechanism. The rod is sprung steel, so in theory you can bend it. It's tough, but that could happen if you needed to bend it to a different angle. If you know what all that stuff is, the angles and things like that beforehand, we could definitely bend it for you. Ideally, though, we want that rod tucked in tight, and we always want to see the excess trimmed away, right? We don't want to have a bunch of extra rod down there when you fling it or swing it away that's causing issues. But for lightweight applications, this system is really going to shine. It's simple, it's versatile and adjustable, and you just get a really capable mounting system. So compatibility, again, I mentioned that earlier, is another strong suit here. It works for a wide range of joysticks. So pretty much every Stealth and Movis option that we sell, except for our heavy duty ones, we're able to mount here. We can put some of the Quantum joysticks and Arnet joysticks on here as well. And then the ARMS260 series also supports enhanced displays, the Omni, Beyond Drive controls. We'll look at it again here in a few minutes. The same system can allow mounting for tablets, for phones, mechanical switches, sensors, things like that are not specifically drive controls. Your SM600 series is what I knew of as a Stealth chin control prior to coming on board here at Stealth years ago. It attaches to pretty much any of the head support systems we sell. Gives you a very simple, clean mounting system for chin mount that doesn't require much in the way of hardware, additional hardware. You don't need a lot of real estate on the chair to get this thing mounted, right? You just need a headrest. Super lightweight, simple to adjust. But since it attaches to the head support, you have some drawbacks, right? You need an attendant to open and close it typically. It can migrate when you move into more and more of recline, if you do have recline on your chair. So there's just some considerations when you use this style. We've got attaching hardware for 11 different joysticks. We don't sell 11, right? So there's a good chance that if it's a chin control sized joystick, we'll have a mount for it on this thing. Now, both of these, ARMS260 style and SM600 style, use, again, sprung steel rods. Your ARMS260 is typically going to come with a 9-inch rod. Some of the joystick specific packages come with a longer 18-inch rod, but let's say you're mounting a display and it's not quite high enough to reach into that client's visual field, you could swap for a longer, like 13-inch rod instead of 9, right? So these packages here are meant for headrests, but it does give you everything you need to swap to the longer rod or shorter on your ARMS260 assembly that you're working with. So these are available as well. Now your Gatlin is a pretty tough mounting system. It's rock solid and pretty flexible for a midline mount. It works in lots of different setups. You've got a couple of vertical or horizontal options to choose from. Plenty of adjustability in both. It's simple, it's sturdy, and that's what makes it so reliable, right? You can customize it as well to fit users' needs. So we have three main Gatlin models. We have a Gatlin that is an 8-position locking, so you have to push it out away from you as the client to turn it. We have the GAT 405, which is just gravity lock, so you would pick it up and it would flip out of the way. You've got either a 95 or 100 degree option to flip it out of the way with. And then the GAT 406 is mainly for like chin mounted systems, so it mounts vertically and gives you another 8-sided barrel to rotate with. So if somebody's struggling with unlocking before swinging away, GAT 405 is usually the better fit versus GAT 400. It moves smoothly between positions. No need to push it forward, right? And adjusting between having it swing 95 or 180 degrees is pretty simple, but it is something that a technician has to do. It's not a thing a client can do on the fly. Now, we have a very extensive range of joystick mounts for the Gatlin. In general, these are going to be a standard model, which can be slid along the Gatlin arm. You can rotate it around that arm as well. Or we have upgraded versions of a lot of those that give you an additional 360 degrees of rotation at the base of the joystick. The abbreviated version of what we are compatible with here is on OEM joysticks. We can do QLogic joysticks. We can do like the RNet CJSM. We have some of the older Invacare joysticks, and we have mounts for every joystick available at Stealth, as well as like the Compact and Compact Lite, several mini joysticks, several ASL joysticks. So there's quite a bit to choose from. If you need to attach a joystick to a Gatlin, there's a pretty solid chance that we have something to meet your needs there. We can also mount several mechanical switches or sensors on a Gatlin as well. We can mount displays. The nice thing though is often we might need a joystick and a display all in the same general area, maybe a switch as well. In the Gatlin, we can usually have the real estate to do all of that if we need to. Our multi-swing 2G from Movis is a power chin boom. This version has a pretty compact motor unit. The arm is adjustable so that it can be a left or a right side. Cables for the joystick get mounted through the arm. The amount of swing away, the direction it swings, how hard, how fast it swings, those are all adjustable in the programming. But unlike other power swing aways, this one comes to a soft stop. You can have it swing away with like a momentary command or with a couple versions of latched or timed commands. So super configurable. One of the interesting things though is that it also has the ability to output switch commands. So what that means is with one single switch, the client can operate the multi-swing. They could power their chair on and off, and they could say issue a mode command on their chair. So could really reduce the required number of switch sites that client has when using a chin control. The trick is that this also needs to ideally be a switch that they can have access to both in that home and swung away position, so that access doesn't go away, right? So that can kind of be tough to find sometimes. The manual swing is also a chin mounting system, so it's a lot like the multi-swing that we just looked at, with all the cabling running through the same kind of arm that has, but this time it's manual. There's no motor. So it's attached to an upright or back of the chair. We can do vertical or horizontal tracks or tubes, but it can be made to swing vertical or horizontal as well. But like I said, the action is all manual. So to swing it out of the way, usually it'll be an attendant who would need to loosen that ratchet lever to swing it out of the way. And with the Movis chin control harness, we can install our all-around or all-around light, the multi, the micro joysticks, and provide that client with access to the joystick at their chin. Mounting hardware is super adjustable, so the joystick can move into the chin at whatever angle you need. But the hardware also has a quick release lever from the harness, so it can be removed for transfers and other activities. And that harness is kind of a one-size-fits-most situation. You bend those shoulder sections over the client to fit better. We can add twister switches with all of the joysticks so the client can have easy access to, say, a mode switch or a power switch. And the great thing with this setup, though, is that it attaches to the client, not the chair. Everything else we looked at so far attaches to the chair. When you attach to the chair, that means the client has to be in there exactly the same way every single time they get in the chair, and they have to stay there. So if they drift to the side throughout the day, the joystick goes with them if they're using a harness. When they go into recline, it stays with them in that ideal position because it's on the client, not the chair. So it's a lot less positionally dependent than something that might mount onto the chair. We also have our own harness itself. This one's a bit of a different style, but the same idea. It attaches to the client, not the chair. This one has a horizontal bar that's height adjustable, and you have all of these adjustable links on a quick release swivel as well. So this lets you put, say, the Stealth PMPJ, the Movis Micro, Multi, all in the right spot and angle for the client. That horizontal bar snaps on and off, so the harness is easy to remove. Height adjustment is just a couple set screws on either side, and it slides up and down, so super easy. One thing to note here is that we do pad the top surface here that goes around the back of the neck, but the back of the neck's not always a great weight-bearing surface, right? So when your clients are a little bit more sensitive to contact in that area, we tend to lean more towards the Movis harness. The IDCH has a little bit more adjustability built in, but it's not always the right solution for everyone, right? Both of these are for chin control, but these harnesses also work great for clients with contracted upper extremities, for example, right? Maybe they're still a good joystick candidate, but mounting a joystick in that location would be super tough, right? So this makes a very interesting option. Rather than rigging something complicated coming off the armrest or backrest, right? You could use this harness, send that joystick out to the side instead of up to the chin, and it works very, very well for that setup. So the last one here that we do have is going to be UniLink. So this joystick mount is for a QLogic 3 or 3E joystick. UniLink does offer a pretty remarkable amount of versatility, so you can mount that joystick in almost any position. So getting it right where the client needs is almost always achievable. With this hardware, you have multiple adjustments. So you can do depth, height, lateral offsets, joystick rotation, joystick tilt, right? It's all possible here. The flip away mechanism can be made to drop straight down, out to the side, whatever's best for that client and how they need to use that feature. So there's kind of endless ways you can build off of this and customize this assembly as well. We've also swapped out some parts so that you can mount some of our alternative joysticks off this assembly, or even some other OEM joysticks. But part of what the beauty is with UniLink is its simplicity. At a component level, each component's relatively simple. We have a compression joint of opposing angles that when you force that together, you get quite a bit of torque that they'll hold before things start to slip. We can do 258 degrees of rotation. So with this basic concept, we're able to create a hardware family that can add or remove parts as needed relatively easily. So we can attach to most surfaces on the chair and really build our custom solution for each application that we might need. So the key is that everything in the UniLink system is compatible with each other. There are very, 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 very few exceptions to that. UniLink is such a versatile hardware that you can make the thing that you might need but otherwise doesn't exist if you have the parts. So it's easy to take an existing assembly, add or take away parts to modify it for, say, mounting a drive control in an unconventional position. So to some extent, your creativity is the limit here, right? It's like having a grown-up erector set for mounting things to a wheelchair. So nowadays we have UniLink options for a pretty broad range of applications, and from applications from top to bottom of the chair. So some for positioning surface purposes, some for mounting purposes. But that's all joystick stuff, right? And I want to talk more specifically about non-joystick stuff. We again in September's webinar last year we covered drive control access pretty well, but what about all of those things that might not be joysticks but the client might still need on a chair? So we have a range of mounts for displays that'll allow them to be positioned in the most effective location for the client. We have several tablet mounting solutions, and we have a simple but super positionable mount for small devices. So we're going to end out this webinar by taking a quick look at these guys. We're going to start here with displays. Quick note, I'm just going to go through a quick review of these. It's not going to be a comprehensive run through on these display mounts. So if you want to know if we have something for a specific display, just reach out to us. Like always, there's a decent chance we'll have it. But we do make a different version or two of display mount, which can help you keep that critical information that the display is showing the client, again, within their visual field. So here with the QLogic enhanced display, we have an ARMS260 style that's going to come with or without the armrest clamp or receiver. So the nice thing is without it, the one that comes without the receiver lets you choose the style you need. So you could get like a height adjustable receiver or a track style. So, but it gives you a super clean, low profile option, but still lets you make plenty of adjustments when you need it. And remember, you can get longer or even custom rods when needed, if you have something a little more challenging to get to. We have a Gatlin option that can be paired with a Gatlin style of your choosing, and that even goes for the chin control style Gatlin, right? So this gives you something that would be, again, rock solid. It would swing out of the way, gives you a lot of adjustability, but now you can put that display, if you choose to, right next to the drive control, have it all swing out of the way in one action, and still keep that in their visual field. And now we could also use UniLink to mount a quantum joystick, but if you sub out that joystick plate for the one for enhanced display, you have something that lets you be a bit more creative like we just talked about. Again, for the other displays like your Omni 2 on Arnett chairs, things like that, we have very, very similar options. So I'll skip that. So we're just not looking at the same thing a few different times here. But again, if you are looking for a specific display mount, just feel free to reach out to us. And like I said, there's a good chance we'll have something for you. And now if you joined us for December's webinar, you'll know that more and more these days, things like tablets are becoming more and more important for clients to be able to access and have on their chair at all times. So we have a few different options here. We have two tablet mounts for the Gatlin of your choice. So again, you get that tablet mount on a rock solid system. It can be right dead center of the user if needed, or off to the side. We also still have an ARMS260 option, and we have 2 options for UniLink hardware as well. So just to kind of talk about the UniLink one first, these UniLink tablet holders are pretty versatile. You can mount them, again, in almost an endless number of ways to the chair, but they use a ratchet lever for tool-free adjustments. They are flip down, so they get out of the way, and again, that flip down can be rotated to swing outwards, right? If you just need to move it that way, just rotate it, and it's pretty simple adjustment. And with all UniLink systems, tablet mount included, we can add more links, we can remove links, we can put parts in there that kick it off to the side instead of straight up off the arm. So there's a lot of configurability that we can do to make this the exact setup that client is going to need. As for the tablet holders themselves, we use the RAM Tab Tight holders, if you guys are familiar with those. If you're not, these are pretty simple spring-loaded tablet holders, which is kind of why we chose them. They have access holes for cameras, for chargers, for buttons, things like that you'll find on tablets. They work well in both vertical or horizontal orientations. Pretty easy stuff, right? We use one which will fit up to an 11-inch tablet. That's 11 inches without the case, or one that'll fit up to a 5 1/4-ish tablet. So the smaller one fits tablets, 5 1/4 on the width, about 10 inches in the height. So we can't really do the enormous like iPad Pros that are out there right now or anything like that, but we do still fit a pretty good selection of tablets. And remember, these are for thinner iPad, Galaxy tablet, Fire tablet style tablets that are like 1/2 inch thick or less. These are not for like a communication device style tablet, which is super heavy and thick. So just these mobile device tablets for our tablet holders. And then we do have our small device mount options here. So the only option we have right now in this is going to be your ARMS260 style. Again, it's lightweight, super positionable hardware that can be customized to suit the client's needs. For this mount, we use the RAM X Grip. So it's fairly common one out there in the wheelchair world, but for good reason. This mount is, again, very simple to operate with a spring-loaded design. This is going to fit phones or devices really that are up to about 3 1/4 inches wide. The key thing is about 1/2 pound or less, though. So this could be a phone, but it also works for media players like MP3 players. Could work with other things as well that I think we often discount. So, pocket translators, GPS systems, things like that. Pretty much any small handheld portable electronic that's within that size range would fit here. So again, that's about all I have for today. This was meant, like I said, to be kind of the part 2 of September's webinar. So before I open up the floor to any questions, I do want to remind everybody that we'll be sending out a PDF copy of this presentation later today. We'll send it to the email that you used to register. That email will also have a link to a quiz for anybody who needs CECs. And then a general survey about the experience. I want to make sure I'm not wasting anybody's time, that you're still finding these valuable. The recording will be made for on-demand viewing as soon as possible. About a week or so from now, you can expect to see that hit our YouTube page. But other than that, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat in the Q&A, and we'll get you some answers. If not, I appreciate your time, and we'll see you next month.